go? Okay. All right, we'll start the regular council meeting for Tuesday, February 11th, 2025. As we gather, we are reminded that the town of Bonnyville is situated on Treaty 6 land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history and is the traditional homeland and home to First Nation and Métis people today. We respect the histories, languages, and cultures of First Nation, Métis, and all First People of Canada whose presence continues to enrich our community. Okay, first up, we have our agenda. Were there any additions to the agenda?
Nothing from administration.
Okay. If I can get a motion to approve, please. Councillor Blanchette?
I'll move adoption of the agenda as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Next, we have the meeting minutes from January 28th, 2025. Were there any additions or deletions, changes? Seeing none, we'll look for a motion to approve then as presented. Councillor Johnson?
I'll make the motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Okay, all in favor? Carried. All right, we have a delegation this evening, the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Collaborative. Welcome. Yeah, please, if you can come up. And, yeah. Well, we like you to use the mic. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yes, please, if you don't mind.
You said you're awesome, so we want to hear about
We want to hear about you.
Well, we're back again, so.
And we want everybody else to hear. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having us back.
Thanks. Kendra, can you just turn the mic on? Is it on? Okay, my apologies.
Turn myself. Is that better? Yeah. Okay, I'll move closer. We are here representing the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Collaborative again here. We have gotten recent updates to our funding partners that greatly impacts the operations, facilitations, and services and supports that our collaborative offers to our community. So we wanted to come forward in front of the town to give that update, as we did not have it back in September when we were here last time for our request for funding. So this is just an update again on the 3 funding partners that have previously provided funding for the Child and Adolescent Collaborative. The Bonnyville MD providing $25,000 in matching the town's $25,000 previously. In September, we did request $50,000 if possible to increase the supports that we've been trying to provide over the almost 10 years now, which is amazing. So that $50,000 still sets as the request that we would hope to receive. And I will update you guys on what that would entail now that Alberta Health Services, also known now as Recovery Alberta, previously gave us $67,000 for our mental health navigator position. So we can get to the next slide. So the recent update a few weeks ago that we got from Recovery Alberta is that they will be discontinuing all funding in terms of all $67,000 for that position and the supports of their child mental health therapist to our Tuesday collaborative with our clinical team. Unfortunately, they did state that we perform very well. Our numbers in providing decreased emergency visits, primary care access, and supports to our families does very well, but at this time it doesn't meet the new mandate for Recovery Alberta and the initiatives that they are providing support for. Those exact mandates were not given to us on why it doesn't meet. Through a few conversations, it does look like that we don't fall necessarily under an addictions bracket for them right now. Although we do provide some of our adolescents support around addictions if they have them, because it is often a comorbidity of a diagnosis of the other ADHD, anxiety, and depression that we do assess and monitor and provide support for. So that funding will cease to exist as of March 31st of this year of 2025. So that leaves us with essentially our mental health navigator position with no funding to continue. At that time that we were updated, we did request a extension for at least time for us to figure out a new financial plan. And just as of last week, we were informed that that was also declined. They are trying to work with a few different alternative ways for us to connect we have a caseload of 70 families right now that are accessing supports from us. And so we are trying to work with them if they have any alternative routes to getting these families access and support at the level of a physician monitoring medication, treatment, and therapeutic goals that mandates through our collaborative. And so again, that full 67,000 is allocated usually for our mental health navigator position. If you can skip to the next slide. These are just some of the jobs and duties of that position. We wanted to give you guys full transparency on what that position holds and what that funding entails. And so that community navigation piece, in that they don't have to be connected, referred to the clinical team. The navigator also is a community resource in navigating families that aren't connected to the supports that they may need at a primary care lens, whether that be in schools, whether that be through community agencies, or just directly self-ask questions about the program itself, about mental health itself, and what that can entail. That position also deals with all of our referral coordination, referral intake, operations and management of that assessment clinic, administration of the clinic schedule. Like I mentioned, we hold 70 families, so there is follow-up care, discharge care when we discharge. That all is monitored and managed by the navigator at this time. And then the other parts of obviously the community building, of building relationships, building awareness, education tools, to our schools, to our community members, and to other agencies in our community and surrounding communities. You can skip to the next page. So what we are here today is to request, so we have broken down, so we will basically not have that funding from Recovery Alberta from April to the next fiscal year of 2026. But what we are asking of the town right now, and also asking of the MD to match, is to supplement the funding from April to at least December, so that we can either apply for more grants, find other funding sources, and just give us some time to try and figure out how to keep this collaborative effective and operating. So our ask is an additional 25,000 on top of the 50 that we requested, in that we would also request the same 25,000 from the MD to supplement to get us through to April to December of 2025, which doesn't get us our full fiscal year, but at least it gives us enough time to apply for further funding. We are already on that road. We have already applied for the Child and Mental Health Fund, the federal grant that just came out at the end of 2024. We have sent an application for that. We are in conversations with the Bonnyville Health Foundation, Covenant Health, and also applications for other local business support or local support in terms of CNRL, Synovus, those bigger business agencies. So we are also trying to do our best at not putting, again, this all on our town and our MD for that support, but at this time we were left with a 2-month basically turnaround to try and secure providing supports for these families and for the community and the mental health that it provides. The biggest thing that I don't know that Recovery Alberta maybe took into play is the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Collaborative is now the reason that all of our Bonnyville physicians, that is our process of getting mental health supports for children and adolescents around 16 to 17. Because we don't have a pediatrician in the area, because we don't have child psychiatry that are accepting new patients, all of our Bonnyville physicians that follow with the Bonnyville Medical Clinic use our clinic as triage to get their support for psychiatry for their kids. So it's not just impacting the specific area that we provide, it's actually affecting our entire Bonnyville Medical Clinic and referral to children getting assessed for ADHD, anxiety, and depression. So we are in a little bit of a bind in that, but I also wanted you guys to know we are avidly seeking where we can, whether that's small $1,000 donations, sponsorships, all the way up to bigger 20s, 30s, 40,000s as well. So that's where we land today with our update from Recovery Alberta. Questions for you guys?
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the update. I'll open it up to my council first to see if there's any questions or comments. Councillor Johnson?
You know, I was going to ask some questions, right? Thanks for coming in and giving the presentation. Just curious on how the discussions are going with Covenant Health as possibly partnering up.
So we had a conversation with one of the representatives from Covenant Health just between the Christmas break. It was left in her hands to kind of go up the Covenant chain to see if there was possibility of a funding opportunity that Covenant Health may take over that Recovery Alberta funding, as our hospital is Covenant Health. We have not heard from Brenda Poole on any updates on that as of this time.
Okay. I'm curious, did you guys manage to have your meeting with Emily Sear?
We're just trying to accommodate the schedules around our physician lead, which is a 2 to 3 month turnaround in terms of her schedule. So we are just in the mix of trying to make sure that we can have the right representatives to have that conversation with her.
Yeah, that's important to get in front of him because he's going to be the big one
Yeah.
advocating in the ledge for you guys, right? So, all right, and no, I think that was about it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Kushner?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Thank you for your presentation, guys. So how long has AHS supported this position?
Since 2016.
2016, so ouch. And do they have any way of, are they talked to you at all about replacing, or how are you going to replace this?
So they do not have a replacement plan. They're currently trying to help us get access to maybe another, there's not another organization, but another way to get families assessed. So they have brought up Fort McMurray and Grand Prairie in terms of their psychiatric child program. As you guys know, that is a 4-hour and 7-hour drive for our families and not the most realistic for primary care that we follow up with our families, especially if they're on pharmaceutical treatment, every 6 to 8 weeks.
And I know St. Paul has a division.
So St. Paul has an adult psychiatric
Nothing for
division, and so there was a psychiatrist that was willing to take later teens, so 16 and above, but he is currently not accepting any new patients at this time.
So nothing in Cold Lake as well, right?
No.
So maybe, Madam Mayor, maybe NAGO can maybe have a look at this, because if it's a whole region, yeah, right, that maybe we can do some, something there to try and help this situation, because if it's not in this region anywhere, pretty hits NAGO pretty good then.
Yeah, child psychiatry, for at least primary care providers in our area, their option is to refer to a program called telepsychiatry. That is a referral consultation with, there's 2 psychiatrists that deal with the North Zone, and it is consultation. So after that assessment, when they meet with them, it is virtual. They give their recommendations on what they see as treatment, but then it is on the referring physician to deal with those treatment goals, whether that be pharmaceuticals or therapy. It is the mandate of that physician to follow up with that family. Most of, I will say around 40% of our current caseload are unattached patients. So that leaves our walk-in physicians, our emerge physicians to be managing or prescribing those medications, which they might as well be having them as their private panel practice because they need to be responsible for the medications that they're prescribing.
This seems to be happening more and more where municipalities are getting downloaded on over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And it hurts every municipality in all of Alberta. I'm hoping that AHS, I know they're going through a big upheaval right now, so maybe it'll come out in the wash, but it's tough for us,
Yeah.
you know, as a municipality as well.
Yeah.
Thank you though, guys.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Sharoon?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for an excellent presentation, for all the work you do in our community. Just out of curiosity, on your memo that was sent to us, you are applying for a $500,000 grant over 4 years for mental health initiatives, and it says in there that this would allow you to expand your services.
Yes.
Can you just touch base on what areas and how you would expand, please?
Yes, yeah, so that is the grant that I was talking about that we sent the application for at the end of January. So it is the Child and Mental Health Fund that was given, it's a federal grant that was open for application at the end of last year. So our plan is, so that is $500,000 for 4 years for every fiscal year. And the plan is actually to diversify what is already existing within that collaborative team, but actually appointing either a nurse practitioner or a physician lead. We would hope a psychiatrist, but again, it depends on what's available within our rural stretch. That would also be 2 psychologists, because another program that is the PCN combined with Northern Lights School Division in providing 2 psychologists and a mental health nurse and navigator that go into Northern Lights and provide therapy. That program will also end in June. So we lose those psychologists for Northern Lights. So the hope and the goal is that we can provide this encompass team of either a physician, a nurse practitioner, a psychiatrist, 2 psychologists, a social worker, a mental health navigator, a health coach, in a full encompassing holistic team that would actually provide supports for not just Bonnyville, but our surrounding area, and not just a certain school division. It would be all of the surrounding school divisions. The hope would be it would go all the way to Cold Lake, St. Paul, Glendon, Lac La Biche, if we could, pending on, it doesn't just then, the physicians that we hold now with the collaborative, the criteria is that they're at least attending Bonnyville Medical Clinic as their primary medical home base. This team would allow us to remove some of that barrier to that bigger team so that we could provide more holistic supports for the entire area.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Oh, no. Can you, I know you've come as a delegation before and talked to us a lot about the mental health collaborative initiative as a whole. So can you just break it down, so how, this is just one position within that collaborative? At one point, you were talking about, we had excess revenue due to COVID, we had a psychologist, is that this position, or?
So the revenue that was accumulated over COVID, we allocated to a social worker position who's our family wellness advisor. So that was a support that we had that excess funding. We saw a need in connecting our parents to natural supports and strategies and family or parenting strategies before we see with the clinical team. That funding is set for the navigator position. So without further funding, we potentially lose that social work position.
So that is something separate, so we will be losing the social worker because
So-
we don't have the funding.
Because of my drop in FTE coming back, we can potentially have her at a part-time position. But again, we wouldn't allocate any business decisions until we know kind of where we are going to be at. I believe, Kelly, do you know the exact number that we operate on is 156? Sorry, I just want to make sure my numbers are accurate for you on a total operations. On where we go annually.
Usually, like, this year was 148, but we
Yeah.
skimmed a lot off of the budget.
Yeah. And so the hope when we hired that social work position is that we would have received more funding eventually.
Yes.
Because we have not received an increase in any of our funding since 2016. So the goal was that we would hopefully, or either split both of these roles enough to accommodate the funding that we did have to still be able to provide the support, or try and accumulate all of the roles within one position if we had to.
So the mental health collaborative initiative will continue. It's just without a mental health navigator.
It
Is that,
wouldn't.
am I understanding?
It
No.
wouldn't continue because the
Right.
navigator is the
Is
centerpiece to it all.
Right, okay, that's
Yeah.
what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah.
Okay,
So the town and the MD funding that was previously given has usually been to operational costs, never to roles of the navigator or the social worker, unless there was revenue from our COVID year when we moved basically virtual world and didn't need the rent and things like that, so.
Right.
Yeah.
okay, and then just another piece for clarification. So you've already you're asking for an increase of 25,000. Is that taking into consideration that we've already allocated 50,000? So you're asking 25 on top of that to top you up to 75?
Yeah, so we're asking for 75 to basically take what AHS was giving, splitting it between town and MD to supplement us to at least December so that we can have a plan financially to move forward and
So
continue
you'll be asking,
supports.
so you'll be asking the MD for 25 as well then?
Yeah,
yeah.
on top of their already 25 that they give, so we'd be asking them for 50.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. That clarifies a lot for me. Yeah, it's really too bad to hear that. I really wanted to fight just even for the social worker, and to hear that we have to now advocate and fight just for the navigator position. That's a huge impact for our community and our region, like 70 families, that's a lot. I could tell that you're passionate about it and it's affecting you guys a lot, so thanks for taking the time and answering our questions this evening. And I think we'll put our heads together on how we can advocate and have a discussion, hopefully at our next meeting, on whether we can support that or not.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
your time.
everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Out. Okay. Oops. Next, we have, okay. All right, bylaw, multi-unit housing incentive.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Council at the January 28th meeting provided first reading to bylaw number 158925, the multi-unit housing incentive grant bylaw. The purpose of this bylaw is to provide a grant to encourage the development of new multi-unit residential housing within the town. Bylaw number 1589-25 provides a reimbursement grant of $10,000 for each new dwelling unit constructed to a maximum of 50 units. The units would consist of new developments with 2 or more dwellings that are constructed on R3 or R4 zone property. The grant would be provided to the owner once the construction is complete and the occupancy permit has been issued with no deficiencies. The timeline for completion of the project is 24 months from the date the building or development permit has been issued. This bylaw does have an end term of December 31st, 2025, and the program would be reviewed annually during budget season. The total cost of the program will add an additional $500,000 to the 2025 operating budget if approved, and the program is 100% subscribed. Funding would be allocated from the general operating reserve, which would increase the reserve transfer required to balance the budget to $1,278,075. Administration is recommending that council provide second and third reading to bylaw number 1589-25.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for administration on this bylaw? Councillor Kushner?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I remember us talking about this at governance priorities, and we had some reservations about an apartment coming in and taking all the $500,000 in one apartment. And so I see that with this bylaw, that can happen, because R4 is where apartments can be built. So it might not happen, but I just want us to realize that if somebody comes in and builds an apartment, everybody else, all the smaller people who maybe want to build a duplex or a fourplex or an eightplex are going to get shut out in this. It's first come, first serves. So that, now I realize we can also add to this if we want to. So we can, we had initially started with $1 million on this, decided to go down to 500,000, see how it went and go from there. But in this bylaw, the way I read it, unless administration think I'm incorrect, I can see that if an apartment building wanted to come in, there goes our $500,000 if they have 50 units. So just something to think about as we go forward with this.
Thank you. Question, any other questions or comments? So are you okay with the bylaw then going through like the, as it is now with apartment buildings, or? I mean, I hear what you're saying. I don't really recall the conversation about apartments, but I'm not saying you're wrong.
Yeah.
Just want to know if we'd like to have at least a second reading on this.
Well, I won't be voting for it because of that. I would like to see our builders that are around here have a shot at this money, not just from some outside entity, because that will most likely be an outside entity that's going to be building an apartment building. It won't be one of our smaller, businesses around here. So I, as it sits now, I will not be voting for this. I would like to see it go back and then come back to us at the next meeting, would be my opinion.
Okay, Councillor Langridge?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a comment to Councillor Kushner's. So I understand, and I do remember us talking about the apartment side. The way that I'm looking at it is, we have a lack of rentable places in Bonnyville right now, and that includes apartments. And the price has been driven up in our apartments currently because of the lack of availability. the way I look at it is this grant is to spur development. If we can spur someone to build a 50-unit apartment, to me, hey, great. And like you said, we can go back and say, hey, if, we're gonna top this up because we had so much success. I mean, if they were to take the $500,000, I can't imagine the cost of building a 50-unit complex right now. You're looking at millions and millions of dollars. So we're gonna be part of what I understand we put these incentives together for, were to, spur development, obviously, and then as well, we're gonna be collecting taxes on these properties for years and years to come. So I understand what you're saying. I think if someone wants to invest in our community, that's a major investment to make by building something like that. I'm not opposed to it. I would just say, like, if we do successfully have someone that, in the one case scenario that would take up all 50 units, then obviously the administration could bring this back to us and say, hey guys, we're having so much success with this incentive program. We have a few more applications for fourplexes or townhouses. Well, what do you guys think? So I'd rather go that way myself, but just my comments.
Councillor Kushner?
Thanks, very valid point, Councillor Langridge. Through to administration, how easy is that to do? Like, let's say somebody came in and wanted to build an apartment building, great. How easy it is for us to top that up then?
It would have to come back to council as a request for decision to let you guys know that the program was fully subscribed, with administration researching where to get additional funds, whether it's from a reserve or another program that's not being subscribed to. But definitely just bring it back for request for decision.
Well, it wouldn't be like a 6-month thing, it would be like one meeting type thing, is that correct?
It could be, yes, because it would just be reallocating money. The bylaw's already been drafted, so if this happens in 2025, then we could just reallocate money in 2025. To make it go further, we would do a new bylaw for 2026 if the program was to go beyond that year.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I like that too. Okay, good. We're looking for a decision. Councillor Langridge?
If everyone's all right with that, then I will move that council provides second reading to bylaw number 1589-25.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried. All right, we'll be looking also for third and final reading. Councillor Johnson?
I'll provide third reading for bylaw number 1589-25, multi-housing incentive grant bylaw.
All in favor? Okay, that bylaw is carried. Thank you. Next, bylaw, loan bylaw for the Clayton Bellamy Foundation for the Arts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At the January 28th council meeting, the Clayton Bellamy Foundation came as a delegation to request council's consideration to guarantee a loan to complete the construction of the Strathcona Performing Arts Centre. The amount required to complete the project is estimated to be $1.1 million, and the foundation has secured a loan from the Northern Lights School Division in the amount of $300,000, leaving an $800,000 shortfall. After reviewing the request, the direction from council was, rather than a loan guarantee, we draft a loan bylaw whereby the town lends the funds to the foundation to complete the project. This could include different terms than was outlined in the loan guarantee term sheet, which was set for a demand loan for a 1-year term. As per the MGA Section 264-2, a municipality may lend money to a nonprofit organization if the council considers the money loaned will be used for the purpose that will benefit the general public. Attached is bylaw number 1591-25, a bylaw to provide the foundation a loan of up to $800,000 for the purpose of completing the construction of the Performing Arts Centre. The bylaw as drafted includes all of the requirements of Section 265-2 of the MGA. As per the MGA, the bylaw states that the amount of money to be loaned is up to $800,000 and is for the purpose of completing the construction. The minimum rate of interest is 5% per annum with a term of 3 years. Administration is suggesting this term as the foundation does not know the status of the CFEP grant, and it will allow time for further fundraising through sponsorships and annual galas without having to create another bylaw. And it does include monthly payments for the interest portion of the loan, as well as additional payments on the loan with them should the foundation receive extra monies. The source of the money to be loaned is from the General Capital Reserve, with all payments of interest and principal being reallocated back to the reserve when received. As this bylaw is being passed under Part 8 of the MGA, it is subject to the advertising requirements of Section 606 and the petition requirements of Section 231.3. Administration is recommending that council provide first reading to bylaw number 1591-25.
Okay, thank you. I'll open it up for questions or comments. Counselor Blanchett?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through to administration. What I didn't see in the loan agreement was any sort of security on this loan. Can you provide clarity on that, please?
Yes, there is no security for this loan, as any of the improvements in the Performing Arts Center would be under the lease agreement that they have with BCHS, so they would hold the assets.
And had we run any other sort of security by the foundation?
We did ask if they would be willing to do a personal guarantee on the loan. The response back was that due to the time commitment that they've put into the project already, the board members, as well as some of the financial implications that they've had on their personal finances because of those time commitments, they were unwilling at this time to provide a personal guarantee.
Okay, and just one more question. Can you just walk us through the process? If we provide first reading to this tonight and we were wanting to make any changes, would it have to be re-advertised then?
Depending on the changes, it may have to be re-advertised, so any changes you're thinking should probably be included tonight with the amendment and then first reading provided so they can be advertised. Because it'll take up until the next 3 weeks for advertising, and then this bylaw wouldn't come back for second and third reading until March 25th.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Counselor Shurin?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, through to administration. So first of all, I just want to say that this is a project that we need in our community. It's so important, and I've been involved in theater and the fine arts since I was in high school, so to have something like this in our community is a bonus. Having said that, this is quite a liability for us as a town. I know administration has just mentioned that they're not willing to do any type of security agreement, but even if it was a small one, I'm not asking for the full 800,000, but if there would be some initiative from their end, just to show that they're all in it as well. That's just my comments. Moving on with, are we going to have a copy of the insurance as well, if this does go through?
The property insurance?
Yes.
It can be requested if that's.
Yeah, if we're holding the loan, I think we should, it would be prudent for us to have a copy of that. And then as excellent contract here that you have written up there, there's a lot of highlights. Just one I want to ask, we're under number 5, it says the occurrence of any one of the following shall constitute an event of default for the purposes of this loan agreement. So if they go in default, there's under number 6, it says the foundation agrees to promptly inform the town in writing of any, default that if they can't make their payment. If all these conditions are then not met and they do go into default, what happens then? I couldn't really see, or it's not clear in there as to what the next steps would be.
It would be legal proceedings.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Counselor Langridge?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One question through to administration. So in how you have it written up, we have here that the loan would be up to 800,000. Now, if that number changes because of we find out what happens with their CFEP grant, is that something, walk me through, how does that get communicated? So obviously the loan bylaw says up to. If they receive the 500,000 from CFEP and they're only in need of 300,000, is that a change that has to be made on the loan bylaw, or is that something that we can just roll with?
It doesn't have to be changed, it's up to 800,000. They would provide us with their invoices, the documentation that we request. If they get the CFEP funding and they can pay 500,000 of the outstanding progress claims, then that means probably they would bring less to us, so it could only be the 300,000, and that's what they would have to pay back.
Okay, thank you. I guess just a comment, I know this one has been a lot of conversation around our table and as well as in the community with, obviously, it's a project since the demolition of the Lyle Victor Albert Center. The town really has not had a small venue that's strictly dedicated to the arts. We have a very busy Centennial Center that gets used very, very frequently, and we know how busy that is, and it's something, obviously, we know that is needed, and we've gone back and forth with the foundation multiple times. They've come in for requests on 3 different occasions, and so it's the finish line is so close. And my thought process on this is, I do believe that the foundation has done a good job of surrounding themselves with some business-minded people. It's been a change, you know, seeing some of our community leaders that are now on their board that are helping them try to get to the finish line on this. And as well, I know there's a large risk as far as the unsecured nature of the loan, but I think, my opinion, I'd like to see us pass first reading, and by the time second reading would be coming about, we would know the nature of that CFEP loan, and that could really push us, I think, one way or the other. But I would like to see us support this first reading tonight and see how it goes, because we all know that this is a very important project in our community. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Councillor Johnson?
Through to administration. So we have it as a 3-year loan currently. If they needed an extension at the end of 3 years, that they didn't quite have it quite paid, is it easy to just extend it, or would we have to rewrite the whole bylaw?
We would have to bring back a bylaw.
Okay. This is just me thinking out loud here. They have a 1-year demand loan for the $300,000 that they have to pay off to the bank. Our loan would be a 3-year loan. So they have basically 2 loans to start paying right in that first year, and it would really leave them only 2 years to pay it off. I'd like to see them, give them every opportunity for success, and maybe move it to 4 years, so they would have a good 3 years just in case. And the only reason I'm saying that is bringing this back to rewrite a bylaw, go through all the steps again. You're talking legal fees, you're talking labor from our staff to redo everything again and go through the whole process. So it's just to streamline it a little bit. I'm not talking going any more than 4 years, just to make sure we give them that avenue for success. And just a little further on, I agree with a lot of the comments that the councillors have brought up here tonight, and I echoed some of those to the committee last week. I did a lot of thinking over this last few days. The first theater was named after Lyle Victor Albert, playwright, produced all over Canada, North America, Europe, and down in Australia. His plays were produced. He inspired them to build a stage and get this going. We have Mike Plume, Ernie Basilatis, who was in the band with him since high school, Clayton Bellamy, Brett Kissel, all shared that stage, local guys. Juno winners, nominees, all of that. They were inspired by that stage, and they proudly carried, they were from the Lakeland. They're from Bonnyville, further. We had people that were living here that moved on to some great things that had used that stage. George Canyon, classical guitarist Don Ross, which a lot of people aren't familiar with him. He performed at Homemade Jam at the very first opening. His first album was called Kihiwan. He taught out at Kihiwan School, and he performed that night. I've never seen anybody play a 10-string guitar like he did. And one of his albums went on to be a top 10 Billboard hit on their New Age chart. Add into that, we have a number of community members who've used that stage over the years. Late former councillor Claude LeBlanc, Rosemary Cameron, Randy Pedlowski, Guy Demers, Darren Horn, Keith Johnson, Alan Brundage, Curtis Jolly, Art Larman, Shane Larman, Kevin Bashaw. These are guys that I just popped into my head that were part of Bonnyville Live, Bonnyville Country Opry. I needed to get that out to say, hey, how important this has been to our community, how much it's been used, and a lot of these jam sessions, things that were done with youth and older people on the stage learning and having a good time. And for the youth that got to use that stage, myself included, it gave you the confidence to get up there in front of people and for public speaking. And all of that is not measurable in dollars. It is measurable in the confidence in what people have given back to our communities, which a lot of these people are very familiar names. So I'm in support of this. I know it's a risk. We've done it for the Bonnyville Pontiacs in the past, a previous council, gave them an unsecured loan. We went through this at the C2 with the GenMec ACL Hall. We were $300,000 short, and the MD stepped up and gave a loan for that so we could get the whole project done. Because the longer a project sits, the longer you wait, the more it's going to cost. So sorry for the long-winded thing, but I had to get that out because these are the things that aren't easily quantified by dollars. So I am in support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kushner.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Councillor Johnson, you had me at hello. No, agree with you 100%. And I also agree with Councillor Sharoon. The unsecured part is sticky. I don't know if we can do this because they have the other demand loan of $300,000, but I'd like to see some language in here that would say that the CFIP grant would go to paying a loan, whatever the loan is, and it's not going towards anything else other than paying either that loan or our loan. That way, we can bring down that unsecured thing as quickly as possible. So if they get $500,000 on the CFIP for this year or next year or the year after, they could do that. I don't know if that's in here or not through the administration.
It's not in here. It was asked if it could be added. CFEP would have been for the capital project, so it would have to go towards capital construction costs. We just can't add that it absolutely has to be put in ours or theirs. So it just says the payments would be made back through sponsorship grants and other monies that they get.
Okay. Just trying to, we've got $800,000 here sitting out there. We need to get that finished. I agree with you 1,000%. Everything you said is true, Councillor Johnson. I would love to see it get finished, for sure. I think it's badly needed. It will bring revenue into this town as well. So I'm behind the project. I am a little scared, like everybody else sitting at this table. It's unsecured, but you made good points that we've done this in the past as well. Other councils have done that, so thanks.
Thank you. All right, any other comments or questions? I just want to come back to Councillor Sharoon. You just made mention of the insurance. And I know Councillor Blanchette asked, if we have to make any changes to the bylaw, does it have to come back? So I just want to make sure we're clear. Is that a condition? Is that something you want to see? Or do you want us, because I am in favor of this. I agree with everybody around the table. I do sit on the board of a financial institution, and I also sit on Community Futures, and we've been doing loans I've been, at the table doing loans for almost 9 years now, so I totally get the secured part, but I do believe this is good risk for the betterment of our community, so I'm in favor. I don't need to reiterate what everybody said, but I do also understand that we want to make sure that the conditions are clearly outlined. I would hate, if this goes through, for it to come back and then for us to take any longer. So I just want to clarify on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Again, good discussion all around the table and a lot of support for this worthwhile cause. It does say in there that they have to have insurance. So if they provide us a copy, that would be,
You're okay?
I'm okay with that.
All right,
Absolutely.
I just want to make sure
Yeah.
that we don't. Okay, so if there's not anything new to add to the conversation, we are looking for a motion. Sorry, did administration?
I was just going to ask, with the motion, did you want to amend it as per Councillor Johnson's suggestion to a 4-year term? And then
Right, that was
That's
the
what
other
I was
thing.
going to
Yes,
ask before I made
sorry.
the motion, if you guys
You're right.
agree with that or not. I just want to give them every chance for success. 3 years might be a little short with having 2 loans to have to pay in that first year, and 2, I don't know.
I'm fine with it. Councillor Kushner?
I agree 100%. Let's set them up for success. Let's don't set them up for failure. 100% agree with you, Councillor.
And at the end of the day, it's less work for administration if we have to redo a bylaw. And it saves us money there.
Councillor Blanchette?
I'm going to move first reading of bylaw number 1591-25, Clayton Bellamy Foundation for the Arts Loan Bylaw, as amended.
All right, all in favor? Great, thank you. All great points and great conversation all around, thank you. Okay, next, funding request, pushing for change.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Attached is a donation request from Judy Sabai of Pushing for Change, an organization requesting funding in the amount of $2,500 to assist with the cost of hosting a public speaking event for all Lakeland area high schools on March 25th with Joe Roberts as the keynote speaker. There is also a public event scheduled for March 26th. Both events are being held at the C2. Joe Roberts will be sharing his journey from Skid Row to CEO with his personal experience of being a homeless addict on the streets in Vancouver. If approved, the funding would be used to cover the cost of the rental for the C2 Center. The MD of Bonnyville and the City of Cold Lake will also be asked to provide funding for this event. Schools are being asked to provide free busing. Local businesses, along with the Lakeland Credit Union, will be providing 10 gift card educational certificates in the amount of $500 each that can be deposited at the Lakeland Credit Union in an educational fund account. Administration is recommending that council approve a donation up to $2,500 for the Pushing for Change organization.
Okay, thank you. Opening it up for questions or comments. Councillor Johnson?
I'll make a couple of comments. Very neat initiative, especially that the amount that they want to bring in kids from all over the area for this. And it's going to be open for adults for free to attend in the evening. And you know what, if it helps one or two kids, it's money well spent. I myself, I don't have a problem going up to the $2,500 for this, since it's including all the schools in the area. They're bringing them to town here, and it's open free to the public afterwards, so that's my 2 cents on it.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Kushner?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Agree with Councillor Johnson. Also, who's heading this up is Judy Sabai, and she's like a dog with a bone. She will get this done. So that's important, right, that we get this thing done. Great initiative. As we heard earlier about mental health in this region, is always a challenge. If these kids hear this story, and he's a very, really good speaker, and people do listen when he talks, they'll always have hope. And for some of these kids, that's all they have, is hope. And if they can just have that hope that this gentleman was off the streets, he was on drugs and became a CAO, so, or CEO, sorry, that's pretty impressive. So I would echo Councillor Johnson's $2,500 ask as well.
Thanks. Councillor Blanchett?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It just dawned on me through to administration that FCSS did approve not a monetary grant, but providing manpower to assist with the event. So I know that we have something in our policy, I believe, about other departments having provided support. So I wanted to mention that before we do anything.
Monetary support would be.
Perfect,
Yeah.
okay.
Through to administration, do we know, have any of the schools confirmed their attendance?
No, we do not know.
So the hope is that schools will attend?
Yes.
Okay, so but no confirmation?
No.
Okay. Is there also, sorry, is there a reason that they didn't fill out an application for a request?
Yeah, under this particular policy, a letter is all that is required.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, I mean, I like the initiative, but I mean, we're just hoping that people show up. I really don't know. I mean, I hope people come out in the evening. I don't know how successful it'll be. It's hard when you don't see other people, hopefully other people like and other councils and municipalities are gonna support this. Right now, it's kind of just a hope in the wind that it'll happen. I would like to see us supported at the 1,500. I think if the ask was the 1,500, it wouldn't even have to come to council, so that's where my support would be. I would have liked to see more guarantee that schools are going to be there or, other organizations. I just don't see any of that other support here in the ask. So right now, I mean, we could be supporting an event that, we may see one school attend. And I mean, to your point though, I mean, that's all it takes, and if it changes the lives of just a few, but my support would be at the 1,500. Anybody want to make a motion? Or any other questions, or Councillor Sharoon?
No, I'm prepared to make a motion that council approve the donation of up to $2,500 to the Pushing for Change organization. And again, with this mental health, I just attended an Ag Society conference, and so much mental health out there, and especially with the farming community. We had a couple of great speakers, and it's just, these are rough times for some people. So, like the previous councillors mentioned, even if if one or two get touched and we save them, the $2,500 is worth it. So on behalf, I make that recommendation.
Okay, Councillor Kushner?
Yeah, just to clarify the motion, you said up to $2,500. Are you taking the up to out? Is $2,500?
It says of up to $2,500 in the motion, in the
Yeah, but you don't have
recommendation.
to go with that recommendation. What I'm saying is your motion saying a donation in the amount of $2,500 or up to $2,500, and who's going to make that decision?
Okay, I'll make it $2,500 donation. I will recommend.
Councillor Langridge?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a clarification and through to administration. So the recommendation that you guys have here is up to, and in the letter, it states that they want to use to cover some of the rental costs of the C2. Now, is the reason why you have up to because whatever the rental costs come back at, is that what we're going to cover? Like, I'm just kind of confused on where the ask is coming from.
Yeah, the reason for the recommendation is because administration can approve up to 1,500, so council can approve anything over that. So we put up to 2,500 if you wanted to go with the 1,500 as per the policy and administration's approval, or anything over and above that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Okay, to donate $2,500 for the rental of the facility.
That's correct, Madam Mayor.
Okay, all in favor? Carried. Okay, committee reports. We'll start with Councillor Kushner.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. So I'm going to go back in time here a little bit. January 16th had a BRFA meeting. January 21st, governance priorities meeting. The 22nd, the LICA meeting. 23rd, ICSC meeting here at council, just to get all our ducks in a row. January 24th, we had Bill Rogers' retirement. Then the 26th, 27th, and 28th, we went to the ICSC, which is the International Council of Shopping Centers. On behalf of Economic Development, myself and Councillor Sharoon were there. And we met quite a few groups, and I'll just name a few of them, like Circle K, Redco, which is a land development company, Walmart, which they said were on the cusp of having enough people. So that's encouraging, because I'd really love to see the lots out by the highway there. As soon as you get that one store in there, everything else is going to start to pop up. Avenue Living, which is multi-family housing incentives. Home Depot, MBI Brands, which is Mary Brown's Chickens and Fat Bastard Burritos. which is an interesting name, but that's what it is. Pattison Food Group, Sobeys as well, we met with them. Rexall, Medicine Shops, which is another pharmacy. Red Berry, which has Burger King, Taco Bell, Jersey Mike's brands. Choice Properties, so they do a lot of Loblaws properties. CKE, which is Carl's Jr. Burgers. Northern Development and Investment Group, this is a really good one, and Councillor Sharoon will talk a little bit more about that. And then MTY, which is a food group and Canadian franchisor operator. So we had a lot of groups we met with, very positive. So that was well attended. We really thought we were going to get a lot out of that. January 29th, we had a meeting just with council. January 30th, ECDEV design workshop for downtown, I believe it was. February 3rd, community policing. February 6th, the open house with Stantec and the Lakeshore Drive Park concept plans. And then yesterday, Municorp meeting. And that's all I have.
Okay, January 29th, I had several FCSS Association related meetings. January 30th, I had a regular monthly check-in meeting with Assistant Deputy Minister Jen Anderson. January 31st, a regular FCSS Association board meeting. February 4th, library board meeting. February 5th, I met with the president of the Alberta Seniors and Community Housing Association, as well as our respective executive directors to discuss our overlapping priorities in terms of housing and prevention. February 6th, I participated in an asset-based community development session with the Bonnyville Wellness Coalition, followed by the public open house for the Lakeshore Drive Community Recreation Plan. And then yesterday evening, I had an SPCA board meeting. That's everything for me.
Okay, thank you. All right, so January 30th, I toured the new North Star building. They're very well set up there, and they're well on their way to building, I think, a new emergency management industry. I hope council has had a chance, and if you haven't yet, to go over and do a tour, we can arrange that. January 30th, had the ECDEV Downtown Urban Design workshop. January 31st, I've been having meetings through ABMA where we are the association, creating a partnership with a region out of Quebec, a region of municipalities out of Montmagny. So I'll be having more and more meetings with them as we develop a project between our two provinces. Then on the 31st, I did the ceremonial puck drop, for the 86 Cancer hockey game where Reeve Kalinsky put me to work selling 50/50s. I did not know that I would be doing the work, which was fine. I was proud to wear my Junior A Pontiac's apron as I walked around the Energy Center collecting money for cancer. And then February 11th, yes, also had another meeting with ABMA with this regional municipalities out of Quebec. On to my next. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I just need to, on the 15th of January, we had a Lakeland Lodge and Housing Foundation meeting, and I reported that there would be no requisition. What I misunderstood, and it should be noted that we are not requisitioning any more than what we did last year. Although the lodges have seen a steady increase in the occupancy rates at both Bonny Lodge and Coal Lake Lodge, although the increase in rental revenue has helped to offset the steady increasing costs of food, utilities, and costs of supplies, we still have a shortfall. So it is going to stay at $900,000 this year. On the 16th, I attended Alberta Living Wage webinar. That was excellent. 21st, Governance and Priorities. 22nd, Kickstand. On the 23rd, we had a coordination meeting for the ICSC. On the 24th, Bill Rogers Retirement Party. And from the 26th to the 28th, along with Councillor Kushner and Mark Laver, attended the ICSC conference. I'm not going to go into detail what Councillor Kushner did, but this was similar to, not that I've done it, a speed dating conference. We met like every 45 minutes with somebody new. Western Canada is the place to be now. They wanna invest their dollars in here. It's an unsaturated market. There's land. It's cheaper than in the cities. So everywhere we went, it was just amazing the response we got from the developers. As well, the building incentives that we have passed were so favorable. Everybody said it was an aggressive approach, and they were very intrigued. Some of the developers are looking at, some that are looking at some sort of a multi-use housing on a top floor and perhaps businesses, whatever, at the bottom. So we had presentations from every genre of different types of businesses. And like I said, again, Alberta and Bonnyville are open for business. Further to that, 2 developers that we had spoken to made trips on their own here and have been scouting out the area. There are 3 others who are interested in March when it's a little bit warmer and nicer out, and they want to have a view of our community and see what we have to offer. Another thing that they don't realize is when we are in a remote area, and this comes from, we've all, had kids in hockey or different sports or just going to different functions. We don't stick in our own community. Like, it's nothing to drive an hour and a half, 2 hours, which is what really blew them away, that we do travel. And it's just because they don't have to in the big cities, because it's everything is so close. So we brought a lot of light to some of these developers that live in the bigger centers, that we've got everything here. So again, this is the first time I attended. It was just amazing. Like, it was, man, like the speed dating, it was interesting. And you're going to sit and talk to somebody, I believe it was Moxie's. I said, like, I told her that, about the restaurant and stuff like that my kids, like, whenever they go, they'll go to one and they have to drive for it. But at first her response was, no, we'd never build there. Not even going to look at it. After we told her about the driving and what we have here, she could be a potential as well. So, like, all these things just came from sitting on the couch besides the regular meetings that we had. St. Albert Sportsplex, Councillor Kushner spoke to, Katarina Lopez from Cushman Wakefield, Powell River Center, and Carrie-Ann Hunt, FBM. Like, so there were many developers that we talked to, and I can honestly say totally positive comments at the end of the day. On the 29th, I had the CAO recruitment review. On the 30th, Downtown Urban Design Project Open House. On the 30th, the Ag Society AGM. And congratulations to Corey Dowse, who was our new president. February 6th, I attended the Lakeshore Open House. On February 7th and 8th, we had the Ag Society Conference. Ian Hill was one of our keynote speakers, and so was Jody Carrington. They were both amazing and got everybody going. And we sat in a Zone 4 meeting, which is the zone for our area. And we have to come up, or they have to come up with some type of website. Within an hour and a half of our community, you could be doing something every weekend and day of the week. There's just so much happening in our zone here. So we don't have to travel far. So there's always something to do. So, and that's for my report.
All righty, short one for me. On the 30th of February, attended the Economic Development Workshop on the downtown project. On February 3rd, a police committee. On February 4th, a library meeting. And on February 6th, I jumped over and checked out the open house at the Centennial Center for the Lakeshore Drive project. Thank you.
Alrighty, so January 30th, I went to the Downtown Urban Design Project at the C2. February 4th, we had a meeting with Johanna Center. And February 6th, I was over at the Lakeshore Drive area concept plans at the C2 as well. That's it for me.
Okay, excellent. All right, we've got a couple items under correspondence. Letter from Minister MacGyver, just talking, just responding in regards to the municipal census that we did. A letter or an email from the RCMP regarding body-worn cameras. And then our community organization funding up to February 5th, 2025. Any questions for administration? Yeah?
Yes, Madam Mayor, through to administration. On the response from Minister MacGyver, I thought that our shadow population was more like 700, or that's our hotel population. That's the hotel population. The shadow population was 300, so that's why it's not included. Okay, thank you.
Councilor Kushner?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. I'm just going to do a couple shout outs here. I was walking as I'm wont to do, and I'm going to a BRFA meeting in the morning, and I see our garbage truck parked on the side of the road, and I'm going, what's this now? And then I see Darren Zalpa get out of it, go in this lady's backyard, grab her garbage can, bring it to the truck, and then he dumps it and brings it back. And I know that lady is over 90 years old. I think she's like 95 or 96. And that's our public works in action. They do so many things that people don't know about, and that's one of them. So kudos to everybody at Public Works for that. And if you're looking for something to do, Ronald McDonald House Hockey Tournament is on this weekend at the Centennial Center. And some of us will be announcing. If you're tired of my voice, go watch another game, but I'll be there doing some announcing. So, something else to do this weekend.
Okay. All right, we do have one item in camera. If I can get a motion, please, to move into camera. Councillor Langridge, I cannot talk. Thank you. All in favor? Carried.